understand, and central office too, the rubrics and how they function and how you move across those bullets from score point 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Like how the progression bullet, for example, which is bullet 3 under organization, how that looks different from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Like how the bullets really, the writing performance actually changes. What makes it different? What do kids have to do as they go? And then, I think you almost have to do this. You have to deconstruct it, and you deconstruct it across the score points, bullet by bullet, because I lined all the bullets up. So, bullet 1 from score point 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 are all dealing with the same thing at different levels. Bullet 2, same thing. Bullet 3, same thing. So all you do is you track across, you lay those things out. I mean, one thing I did after I drafted the rubrics, each rubric, was I laid those things out and I looked across the bullets to see if they made sense. Like, could I see the difference in performance? And you're really looking at, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But once you deconstruct it like that, then what you have to do is you have to put it back together. And so for each score point, you have to say, what would a paper look like if it were in this score point? What does that writing actually look like? And you have to take the parts and you have to put them together to make a holistic judgment. Because that's really what we're doing. We don't analytically score these papers. We score them, but it's like a focused, holistic process, remember. So we're always keeping the bullets in mind, but we're making a holistic judgment. Because kids can score a 2 or 3 in all sorts of different ways. And kids aren't pure. And what I mean by that is that a 3 might have, probably will have, some elements of a 2, some elements of a 3, and some elements of a 4. And there could even be a couple of 1-like moments in there. Where they use a really funky word or something. Or really general language in 2 sentences. You have to figure out how it shakes out. So what we do is we go back to the very limited, basic, satisfactory, or accomplished. And we say, well, overall, would you say it's a basic performance or is it a satisfactory performance? And and sometimes we just end up saying it's a 5. It's between. It's got equal elements of both. And it's just a 5. It's between basic and satisfactory. The other, I think, really important thing, especially for 4th and 7th grade, is to translate the rubric into kid language. Kids, that rubric is not written for students. It's written for teachers. It's written for scores. And by translating it, I think it will help students internalize the rubric. Here's the other thing. I think it's important once you translate the rubric to use it actively while kids are writing. I think sometimes we use rubrics after the fact. Like as an evaluation tool. And it is an evaluation tool. It's true. For Staar, it is an evaluation tool. But if you're using the rubric in the process of, in helping kids work through the writing process, they start thinking in those terms. And it helps them to actually understand what the performance requirements are. What level of performance do they have to show to get a 3? A 3.3, or a 7, a 3.4. So I do think that it's important to use it, like sort of consistently. And then, this thinking writing connection. I know this sounds absolutely obvious, but we have to keep pitching the idea that you cannot be a good writer without being a good thinker. You can't. It is not filling in the boxes. It is not following some formula or some limited strategy where you're just taking the sentences you put in the boxes and putting them together. That's not what writing is. And if kids are being taught that way, they're not going to do well in Staar. Because we're really trying to have an assessment program, a state assessment program in writing that reflects quality pieces. We want, for me, the assessment is not the most important thing. It's really to move kids toward real facility as readers and writers. And so we have to get this idea that you have to think and you have to ask kids questions about what they're writing so that they understand. The balanced writing instruction I put in there mostly because I do think we had an imbalanced instruction last year between personal narrative and expository. I think that really has to change. And I do think that kids, the worst thing we could possibly do would be to make kids write 26-line pieces the entire year. We don't want to do that. They need to write pieces of varying lengths, different purposes, and you have to actually teach them how you would move from a longer piece to a shorter piece. But you don't want all of their writing to be